If you want to win in this boxing game, bet on Boxing Ego. We the truth. Now, I made a longer video, but I understand different people have different needs, so I have to make a condensed video. I want to talk about this. Eddie Hearn dropped a bombshell to me regarding Haney Garcia fight. Yes, the fight happened April 20th, but there's so much to go over. Mistakes were made, and in this video, I'm going to talk about some of the mistakes. So Eddie Hearn, will listen to what he had to say, and then after that, I'll give you guys some more of my thoughts. But he said that
there are a lot of mistakes. There are a lot of mistakes.
You hear that?
There are a lot of mistakes.
There were a lot of mistakes out this mug.
There are a lot of mistakes in that fight. You know, we weren't across it like we would have been if we were part of his team.
So right off rip, Eddie Hearn said there was a lot of mistakes. Who's to blame there? There was a lot of mistakes, and those mistakes he's saying, Eddie's really throwing Devin under the bus. Be clear. He's throwing him under the bus. He's eliminating the responsibilities from Matchroom and himself and basically throwing Devin under the bus and saying, I was brought along for the ride, but really it wasn't me. The things that took place wouldn't have taken place had I've been in the driver's seat and this was my fight. But it was a Golden Boy show. Devin wanted to do his thing. I'm getting a free paycheck. So, you know, I couldn't control the mistakes from being made. Listen again.
A lot of mistakes in that fight. You know, we weren't across it like we would have been if we were part of his team.
The business side.
Yeah, I think so.
It seemed from the outside looking in that the negotiations went pretty quick. Was it a tough negotiation or was it
No,
easy?
I mean, both guys, you talk about minimums. Both guys rolled the dice on the numbers with no minimums, you know, because they saw Garcia tank, no minimums.
No minimums.
With no minimums, you know.
No minimums.
Both guys rolled the dice on the numbers with no minimums, you know, because they saw Garcia tank and saw the numbers and presumed it would replicate a similar model.
Did you think it would?
No. And I told him that, you know, I said, this is what you'll make for the fight. And he said, no, I'll make this. And actually what he made was exactly what I said he would make.
I'm done. Stop doubting my greatness. I told you this. Devin Haney was doing some good things. Him and his dad, undisputed, fighting Regis Prograis, moving up, giving your body a break. Instead of fighting at 35, killing yourself to make weight, moved up, beat a champion, first fight. All that was good. I even went to that fight. Along the way, somewhere along the line, I think the Haneys started getting too big for their britches and started to feel bulletproof or invincible. And like, oh, we're doing good. Let's start clout chasing Tank. Let's start bringing up Floyd Mayweather. Let's get some egos, no pun intended. And that's what Eddie Hearn is saying in this interview. He said it got to a point where Devin Haney's team, you know, got too brazen.
Respect Devin. I like the kid a lot, you know, but sometimes I think you know this as well. Like, you can lose your direction a little bit in terms of you think now you're that big that you know all the right decisions to make.
You can lose your direction a little bit and start thinking you're so great where you believe in your head you know all the right decisions to make, and you don't feel the burn because you've been winning and you've been doing things right to this point. So you're like, let's just keep on it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But you got ahead of yourself. This is the guy that was brought in to help Devin Haney, and he's telling you this. And he says, I like the kid.
So, like, you can lose your direction a little bit in terms of you think now you're that big that you think you know all the right decisions to make. And, you know, when I go in and sit in that changing room and I see 30 people in there screaming and shouting, you know, and he's putting on his essentials boots that he's had specially made for him, and it takes him 20 minutes to get them on, and you've got 4 different trainers, and, you know, I'm sort of, it's only after the fact. It's always after defeat when you make the change, isn't it? You know, it's never, when you're winning, you never look and go, actually, it's getting a bit crazy in here. I'm not.
Stop playing with me. I'm the greatest that's ever lived covering boxing. It's just what it is. Best in the business is not even close. So Eddie Hearn's telling you what I've been telling you. He says Devin Haney started developing an ego and started feeling he too big. And the point I'm making is the decisions that were being made weren't strong decisions as a team. This is what I've said from day one. Now, ego, often imitated, never duplicated. People, they get mad at what I say, but it's not about being mad. I care about right or wrong. In the end, it's proven Boxing Ego yet again was right. I posted this. So Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia, let's just recap what we know about that Haney-Garcia fight. Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia had no minimum fight purse, meaning there was no guarantee like, hey, Devin, by signing here on this Golden Boy contract to fight Ryan Garcia, you will make at least $6 million or $8 million. Eddie Hearn just told you, and I played it for you on All the Smoke Fight, that both fighters thought the numbers would be similar to Gervonta Davis, or they can develop an event that would rival that some kind of way. And that fight did over 1 million pay-per-view buys. So they basically thought they could match the intensity or come very close. And they rolled the dice on the fight, and they bankrolled the fight doing a volume of pay-per-view numbers so they would make all this money on the back end. This is per Eddie Hearn, who was brought in to work with Devin Haney. So no minimum guarantee on their fight purse. They rolled the dice. That was obviously a fail. No rematch clause, meaning Ryan, no matter what, even though he won and then it was overturned, all that, you have no options on Ryan Garcia now, like contractually. Like, remember when Anthony Joshua lost to Andy Ruiz and he was upset? Eddie Hearn, you got to believe him here. He said, if I was involved, like brought on, and paid as like a fool, like I was the lead guy, I'm the lead promoter representing you, it wouldn't have went like that. You got to believe him, because there's never been a fight like Anthony Joshua where he loses to Usyk or Ruiz. Eddie Hearn knows the business, so he knows if it's a dangerous fight, and you put that little insurance of a rematch clause right in there in the event that Ruiz pulls the upset. Because if not, Ruiz could have went to PBC, which he was working with, Al Heyman and PBC at the time, and then he could have fought Deontay Wilder for undisputed, and you would have no options on Andy Ruiz. Now you guys understand the business. So no minimum fight purse guarantee. You're banking on pay-per-view sales, which we'll get into. You had no rematch clause. And then when Ryan missed weight, you had no rehydration clause. You didn't force Ryan Garcia to reweigh in the same day. These are great business moves. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic, from Team Haney and Team Garcia. Now, for Ryan, to be honest, I don't think it even hurts him as much, because he was the bigger star. Like, he has endorsement deals. He's still showing face and being on streams with popular streamers. He just did one with Neon and things like that. So Ryan is likely still, making money. But for Devin, I think this whole fight was nonsense, and it hurt his career more than Ryan Garcia. Now, I know that might sound controversial, because Ryan Garcia's career definitely took a hit because of the Osterine failed test. However, you see how people are responding in the comment section. Some people simply don't care. They're like, who cares? That didn't help you. Ryan still kicked your butt. So, yes, it hurt Ryan Garcia, but it didn't hurt his opportunities. Devin, however, opportunities have likely been hurt and stifled based on these decisions. That's why in boxing, I always say it. People don't want to get here and have the conversations about the team and the business. This is why you need a smart team. You have never seen Floyd Mayweather go out like this and get in there with a Maidana. Maidana tests positive. Maidana wears these cheap, loose padding, skin gloves or whatever. And then Floyd just get beat up, and there's no rematch clause. There's no rehydration clause, and the fighter miss weight. All these mishaps and mistakes. This is, again, why you need great representation in the world of boxing, so you don't run this risk. This is what Devin Haney did, And you listen to Eddie Hearn, it adds up. You started feeling yourself. You started probably feeling like, oh, I know it all. And, I got the game locked. Me and my dad have made good moves. You stayed loyal to Eddie. And that's the other thing. You're staying loyal to Eddie Hearn, and he throwing you under the bus. He did interviews when he didn't bid for your Sandor Martin purse bid. Eddie Hearn said, we're not bidding on that. Why didn't Devin Haney Promotions bid on the fight? When Devin got initially lost to Ryan Garcia and it was a bad, nasty loss on his record at the time, Eddie Hearn did interviews saying, hey, I told him to get a rematch clause, or not rematch, a rehydration clause, and they chose not to. So basically, Eddie Hearn is exposing the Haneys and throwing them under the bus, the ineptitude when it comes to the business. He said he's a good kid, good fighter, but these are very obvious mistakes that the Haneys made, and it'll be interesting to see how they recoup from these mistakes, like what his next move is. But your boy Ego, I've been on the money from the beginning. I said this fight was weird, and you got to think, imagine bankrolling a fight with no minimum guarantee, like so you have no minimums, rolling the dice, meaning you are expecting this to be a colossal event and big event, so it's justified on the back end because you have no actual like guaranteed minimum, right? It does happen, especially when you have two fighters who command a lot of money, right? So I'll give you guys a quick example. Crawford versus Errol Spence is another fight where they probably didn't have the minimums. But because that was a big fight put on by a legit promoter, PBC, and they were going to market it right, sell it right, Crawford told you in interviews that he says after the fight, it was the most money I've ever made for a fight, and it was the most money he's ever made for a fight, meaning Errol Spence. So Crawford's already revealed to you that working with PBC and Al Heyman to do the Errol Spence undisputed fight was a career high payday for him. Meanwhile, when he signs up with Turkey and does this Eminem concert, Riyadh season junk, right? When he does that, all of a sudden they're saying it's a financial loss and it's upside down, and saying that the event lost over $10 million, which makes sense to me because Eminem, just his booking fee alone adds to the bill. You're having Eminem do a whole concert, that's going to add to the bill. So Crawford does one fight with PBC and it happens to be a career high payday. And even though they didn't have a minimum, they made it make sense because Crawford fighting Spence Crawford fight was promoted well. And it was a fight you knew it had like a $20 million, $21 million live gate. It did 600, 700,000 pay-per-views. So it represented smart business. Haney Garcia, you let Golden Boy throw it. It didn't promote it really good. You know what I mean? The real promotion was Ryan acting like a lunatic. That was the only promotion. Golden Boy and the Haneys kind of stayed out of it for the most part. And the world was just speaking on how crazy Ryan Garcia looked and appeared to be. And you guys at home said that Boxing Ego was lying and said that this would do great business. And I told you, I don't see that happening. Fast forward to the future, Devin Haney, Ryan saying we didn't get our full money, but now it's all been exposed. Eddie Hearn is telling you they didn't even have minimums in their contract. So I don't think that Golden Boy underpaid them or, breached contract. It sounds like you were chasing Tank and you thought your event was bigger than what it was, coupled with the fact that the undercard was garbage. Golden Boy didn't really promote it great. And Ryan was acting too wishy-washy and iffy. And then look at how dumb this is. If your opponent is making such a spectacle and not in a good way, like a negative spectacle, drawing negative. He was talking about aliens. He was talking about politics. He was saying like cancel culture friendly things, right? He was doing all this weird stuff. Imagine if you had a contract that was geared towards no minimum and making all your money through pay-per-views and through back end and putting on a big event. This goes with what I've always told you regarding this fight. Ryan was effectively unselling the fight. You guys told me him doing all this weird behavior would only entice people to come up out their wallet and pay for Haney Garcia via pay-per-view. But with piracy and Ryan acting like a lunatic, a lot of people were like, I'll just catch the highlights after. And now you guys are seeing it. And this becomes a major flop. We never got the actual pay-per-view numbers, which leads me to believe that it definitely didn't do anything close to what Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia did. So it shows you it was delusional for Devin Haney to tell Eddie Hearn, no, 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 and I'm going to make this much. And he had such a miscalculated number, and he just overshot it. He underestimated Ryan Garcia, a fighter, because he's fought him in the amateurs, and he underestimated the popularity of a fight. So it shows me you don't really understand the business of boxing, because the business is to thrive and make money. But if you're making choices like this, it's hard for me to believe that your team is making the right decisions on behalf of you. Like Devin in San Francisco with Regis Prograis, that represented good business. Did almost a $2 million gate. I think it was 1.7. Got a title shot, an opportunity. Devin looked spectacular in the fight. Probably his best win. You fought and tried to create a market for him. Nobody had no problem with that. But then you start selling the Ryan Garcia fight and telling the world that this is the end all be all and is going to do great on the whole thing was a sham. Two West Coast guys and a company who's headquartered in LA, Golden Boy, so it's a West Coast operation. De La Hoya's from the West Coast. He's from East LA. And you put the fight at the Barclays. So horrible undercard, West Coast fighters fighting on the East Coast. Everything I said came true. Y'all got to give me my credit. If Boxing Ego was right, type you were right in the comment section. Everything I said came true. And now we're just getting it a slow trickle where we're getting the information. Boom.